Today in Campaign 2018 Local Matters, we're taking a closer look at some of the key races in Pennsylvania ahead of Tuesday's primary election. Well, Congressman Lou Barletta and State Representative Jim Christiana are facing off for the Republican Senate nomination. The winner will take on incumbent Democrat Bob Casey in November. For more on this, we have Jon Delano. He's the money and politics editor at our Pittsburgh station, KDKA. So great to have you on, John. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Rita, happy to be with you on a Friday. Thank you for asking.
You bet. And so what can you tell us about these two candidates and what exactly are their platforms, John?
Well, you know, you've got two Republicans who are running for the Republican nomination to take on a very strong incumbent in Senator Bob Casey, Democrat. So who are the two Republicans? Well, the party-endorsed candidate is a fellow by the name of Lou Barletta. He's a congressman from the Hazleton, or really the north central part of Pennsylvania. He was the mayor of Hazleton for a number of years and really developed a reputation as being an anti-illegal immigration person. He really cut his teeth on that issue and was elected to Congress. He also served as Donald Trump's co-chair of the Pennsylvania campaign. And as you know, Pennsylvania went very narrowly for Donald Trump, and therefore he is the Trump-endorsed candidate for the U.S. Senate nomination, the Republican nomination. But he's being challenged by a young man, a state representative from my neck of the woods out in the Pittsburgh area, a state representative, Jim Christiana, who is a clear conservative. He term limited himself, so he is not running for re-election to the state house, instead decided to run for the U.S. Senate. The fact that he comes from a major urban area will help him, although he's not the party-endorsed candidate. Most people expect our Barletta to win, and to win on a very conservative, pro-Trump agenda that he'll take into the fall campaign against Senator Casey.
So when you talk about Barletta likely having the upper hand in this, do you think Barletta, would then have the upper hand against Bob Casey, who is really seeking a third term at this point?
That's right. And no, he does not have the upper hand against Bob Casey. Bob Casey is clearly the favorite in this two-person race come fall, in part because Bob Casey comes from a family that's so well known in Pennsylvania. Everybody knows Bob Casey. They've either met him or they met his father. He's been around for decades. And the fact is he also has a ton more money than the Republican has, at least at this stage of the campaign. I think the odds certainly favor Bob Casey, but it's never a done deal. After all, this state voted for Donald Trump, and if Donald Trump is clearly on board with Lou Barletta and this becomes a referendum on Donald Trump, you never know how things are going to turn out.
That's such a good point. You really never know. If there's one thing we've learned over the past election cycle, we don't know. You know, your state, Pennsylvania, is pretty crucial when it comes to the balance of power, particularly in the House, especially after these newly redrawn congressional map really eliminated some GOP gerrymander districts. How can the new redistricting sort of help Democrats, their chances to flip some seats and retake the House?
Yes, well, you're very wise to point that out. Pennsylvania is a clear player in this congressional race come fall. If Pennsylvania goes Democratic in a big way and the Democrats are able to pick up seats in this state, then clearly they have a great shot at taking control of the U.S. House of Representatives. Let's back up a second. Next week, 84 candidates are running for Congress in 18 congressional districts in Pennsylvania. The Democrats are hopeful that they can pick up 3, 4, maybe on the outside, 5 seats from Pennsylvania come November. Now, mind you, that'd be 20% of the gain that they need in order to take control of the U.S. House. So Pennsylvania is going to be very critical. We're watching a number of seats closely across the state. Many of the ones that are up for grabs are newly drawn districts because the old districts were gerrymandered to benefit the Republicans. They had 13 out of 18 seats based on gerrymandered districts. The new districts that have been put in place by the state Supreme Court give the Democrats a shot, both in suburban Philadelphia, up in the Allentown, Bethlehem area, and out here in western Pennsylvania, where I am today. And so it's really a jump ball as to which party is going to come down with it. But I think a lot of folks think that the Democrats will pick up at least 3 new seats here in Pennsylvania. They've got to do it. If they don't do it, they can't win the U.S. House of Representatives nationwide. Your
state's going to be so much fun to watch, I got to tell you, especially heading into midterms. You know, in March, John, we saw Republicans struggle in the special election for Pennsylvania's 18th district. It's a district that President Trump did win by 20 points in 2016. What do you think the lessons are Republicans have learned from Saccone's failure there?
Well, you know, that was a fascinating race between now Congressman Conor Lamb and Republican Rick Saccone. Lamb only won by 0.3%. It was a dead heat. And as you know, that election went on and on and on until it was finally certified about 2 weeks later. But the end result was the Democrat won, the Republican lost. That Republican, Rick Saccone, by the way, is running in the primary next week in Pennsylvania to win an even more Republican seat. So he could end up being a congressman from Pennsylvania in November. We shall see. I think the clear lesson, well, number one, a couple lessons. First, a lot of Trump voters did not come out to vote, whereas the anti-Trump voters, particularly suburban women in the Pittsburgh area, they came out in droves. Conor Lamb won Republican suburban communities that a Democrat is not supposed to win, and he won it on the basis of women who came out to vote. Number one. Number two, I think the reason it was so close was because Donald Trump did come to Pittsburgh at the last minute and campaign for Rick Saccone. And so in some of the outlying counties where blue-collar, white, working-class Democrats voted for Trump in 2016, they came back out in 2018 and did cast a vote for Rick Saccone. And so Saccone made it a lot closer. Some people of the polls showed Lamb winning by 3, 4, 5, 6 points. As I say, in the end, 0.3%. So I think a combination of things is going to make the difference. And I do think that President Trump, he both antagonizes voters to come out to vote, but he also brings out his own people. And it's really a crapshoot as to which one is going to outweigh the other come November of 2018. This is going to be a fun election for people like me to watch here in Pennsylvania and across the nation.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in your state over the next few months. We're so grateful you could join us and give us a taste of politics outside the Beltway. Jon Delano from our station, KDKA. Thank you, John.
Hey, always great to be with you. Have a good day now.